For this is what the high and lofty one says, he who lives forever, whose name is holy. I live in a high and holy place, but also with him who is contrite and lowly in spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly, to revive the heart of the contrite. So he presses us. Verse 16, I will not accuse forever, nor will I always be angry, for then the spirit of man would grow faint before me, the breath of man that I have created. Okay, if God presses us, supreme being, down to man, he can crush our being. He'll crush us, destroy us. Okay? And so he presses for contriteness. He presses us to get the roadblocks out of our lives, to turn and face him. He's always pressing, always hoping that we will turn. Okay? So when we turn, then the light of life comes into us, Jesus Christ, we're reborn, and we're the new creature, and faith and grace are gifts that we receive, and so it goes on from there, okay? So what we want to look at today is we have this perspective, okay, of intelligence, all right? And how do we measure intelligence? How is intelligence determined?
Testing?
By testing, how? How do you test? Remember we talked about the race in 2:5 of what? 2 Timothy, I think it was. We talked about the race, okay? What are the rules for the race? Okay, how is intelligence determined?
Is it by comparison with others?
That's it. Man against man. We compare ourselves amongst ourselves. Oh, he's so intelligent. Oh, she's so intelligent. Okay? Well, is that spelled right? I can't even. Where's my glasses? Okay. We don't measure our intellect unless we compare ourselves with God. And we say, well, God's all-knowing. Right? Okay, so no test tests that. There's no test among humans to see what we know about God and what we believe, okay? Because it requires believing. And God's going to tell you what he knows. He tells you what he knows. And you say, I believe that. I don't believe that. Okay? So, one of the things he tells us is about how long we live. And we said last week, I said last week that I wanted to go into time. Okay? I wanted to go into time really bad. Not really bad, but I mean, I wanted to talk about time. Okay? And in order to talk about time, you have to talk about intelligence. You have to talk about it. So, because in time, time is the only place intelligence has any bearing. And so we try to be careful And that's where AI comes in, because AI is based in intelligence. That's the only thing AI can be based in, because the release of truth from God is for the believer. And AI cannot believe in God. Okay? It's artificial intelligence. It cannot believe in God. So it has to be based in intelligence. Okay? So in intelligence, you have all these peaks of knowledge, and you have valleys, and everybody's different, They have these peaks of knowledge, and we use them to run the corporeal realm, because what you know has value in that realm. And what you don't know, which is deceit, also has value in that realm. Deceit has no value in God's realm. Satan was cast out. There's no value in God's realm, the realm we talked about earlier where Christ is Lord. Deceit has no value. However, in intelligence, hiding things has value. So we're starting to see a difference between the corporeal realm and the kingdom of God, that realm where Jesus is Lord. They're entirely different. So in intelligence, you have these peaks where you know things, okay? And all that matters is how much you know. And Jeremiah 33:3 tells us that God says, I reveal things to people. And if they know anything about me or my kingdom or my son, it's a revelation. I bring a revelation into them. Okay? It is beyond intelligence. Okay? Because you cannot search, Jeremiah 33:3, you cannot search the things of God. They are unsearchable. They have to be revealed. Okay? So people in the Lord are being revealed what they know. All right? So anyways, so you have these peaks, and so we compare ourselves amongst ourselves to find out, who's the most intelligent. And that's how the corporeal realm operates. Okay? It's very different than the spiritual realm. All right? So you guys with me so far? You understand where I'm at? What's going on?
Yeah, I just thought of how when people talk about creation and the world, they talk about intelligent design. That's how they refer to the belief in a creator, is that there's intelligence behind the design, which is still a measurement of this world.
Okay.
But I just thought of that when you were talking and thinking about God, like that they call him like. Because I listen to a lot of debate. I listen to a lot of debates about, not a lot of debates, but sometimes I listen to people who talk that are believers in Darwinism or evolution, and they always will say, oh, then there's the people who believe in the intelligent design, where there's and it's just interesting that we're talking about that, and that's how they would refer to God as the intelligent designer. But go ahead. Okay. I'm tracking with you otherwise.
All right. So when we have a revelation about truth, okay, it's an individual basis, and it's consistent with how much we pursue God. Okay? Whoever pursues him, will find him. Okay? So when we have understanding, which is one of God's capacities, he knows all, he is and he understands all things, he created them through his Son. Okay? So when you have understanding, you're having a insight into God. You have God in you, bringing you to that understanding. Okay, which is entirely different than an intelligence test. Okay, and there are some things about life that we are seeing in the Lazarus story that we can elaborate on and take a look at. Okay, some things that are brought out. Okay, in Genesis, somebody want to find it? In Genesis, I believe it's 6. God limits existence to how many years? Who knows? Human existence. How long can you live? How long can a man or a woman live? Nobody knows? Come on, you had to have...
120 years.
120 years, thank you. Okay, and that's Genesis 6 what?
3.
3?
Then the Lord said, my spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years.
Okay, Genesis 6:3. Okay, now, tell me how you have world overpopulation if you can't live more than 120 years. Frankly, I don't see how that's possible. Everybody's going to die. Okay? And that is only until his spirit leaves all men by 120 years. You have all the fatalities that occur before that. Okay? So, anyways, Genesis 6:3 is important because it's a revelation to man about a decision that God has made. Does this support living a long life? We had a residual effect in mankind from the garden where men lived upwards of 1,000 years. And then God made this statement that going forward, 120 was the maximum. If longer life gives you a better shot at discovering God, it was believed to be true, then it's a lie. It's a lie that living longer makes you wiser and closer to God. It's not true at all. Really, crossing age of reason is the highest point of reasoning ability, I believe, in the life of a person. I believe it's the highest point. Okay? Because you're free of inhibitions. And you are able to reason with God. And so parents have to get on the stick early. And be very much settled in having communicated the best of their knowledge and understanding to that child by the time they're in puberty, mid-puberty, because it's ending. And they're going to be fixed. They're going to decide, and so after that, it's a big chase after wind, trying to retrieve that mind and heart back to God. So age of reason is very critical. So anyways, you have this very interesting piece of information about the value of time. If only I had more time. And God said, your whole life is unnecessary to exceed 120 years. Your whole life is, if you lived that long, it's 120 years and one day is not going to get you to realize me. It's not necessary. It's gone. It's history. Okay? So he takes that away because God is teaching us about time. Okay? So very shortly after that, he does another interesting teaching with us in Genesis 5:24. Genesis 5:24. Okay? Because this person here has already exceeded this amount of time. And God uses an interesting word when he talks about this. Who is this person? Who knows? Anybody look it up yet?
Enoch.
Enoch. Okay. Somebody want to read that verse? Somebody read that verse for us.
And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him.
Okay. All right. You guys see that? Anybody else have another translation? Maybe you have a bad translation. What does your translation have for John 5 or for Enoch, Genesis 5:24? This verse correlates tremendously with John chapter 6 in the boat. Anybody have another translation? I'd like to know what you have. I really would. Liv, do you have a different translation than King James? Guys are quiet. It's not good.
Yeah, because you're NIV.
Go ahead.
I had to step out of the room. What are we looking up?
Genesis 5:24. Other than the King James, we have the King James on the table. Is there another translation?
All right, I've got ESV. 24. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him.
Okay.
Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Yep.
Okay. How about NIV?
NIV. Enoch walked with God, then he was no more, because God took him away.
Okay. What is it talking about? What did Enoch not have anymore?
body on this earth.
He lost time. He had no more time. No more time. It was taken from him. What is God demonstrating? What's he saying about time? If I just had more time, if I just had more time. There was a group in the 60s that made a song, Time is on My Side. Who was that?
Rolling Stones.
Rolling Stones, yeah. They were rolling other things besides stones, okay? But time is not on our side. It's not. It is something made to measure the quality of life for us. It's a corporeal thing. God,
You know, it's common. It's a common thing too. You talked about how at the age of reason you have the greatest clarity and ability to reason with God, and that as you get older, it's more difficult because of your exposure to the world. And the world would tell you when you're young, like live it up and go wild and all these, like waste that time, and then the hope I would think of the devil is like, hey, the longer we get them to go and be crazy and all that stuff, the harder it's going to be for them to come back to any realization of reasoning with God.
absolutely. Time is an enemy. Okay? Let's take a look at 1 Corinthians 15:26. 1 Corinthians 15:26. What God has said to Enoch is, just like he said in the on the lake with the apostles, the Spirit revealed, once the will of the apostles and the will of Christ were aligned, once